Parshat Tazria contains detailed diagnosis and treatment for this mysterious phenomenon known as Tzara'at, commonly translated as leprosy. But what is this phenomenon? Is it to be understood as some kind of spiritual ailment, which is inflicted upon people when they sin? Is it some kind of natural phenomenon, leprosy, which is treated through quarantine and isolation so as to prevent contagion? Well, Judaism Reclaimed goes through, in many of its chapters, different ways of interpreting the Torah. Do we look at it through a more scientific, rationalistic way, giving more naturalistic approaches and explanations, or do we try to balance it with more supernatural voices and explanations within the tradition? We don't actually have a chapter on leprosy, on Tzara'at, so we're going to try and make up for it here in this video. The first most surprising phenomenon here, when we look at the commentaries, is the Rambam. The Rambam is known in general for offering more naturalistic or rationalist explanations for the mitzvahs, for the phenomenon of Torah. However, when it comes to Tzara'at, he tells us straight off, end of Hilchos Tumas Tzara'at, that the phenomenon called Tzara'at is not minhag shel olam. It doesn't follow normal scientific natural laws. Rather, it's a miraculous sign to punish the Jewish people for their sins. Notwithstanding the Rambam's position, there's still a group of super rationalists, scientists, leprosy speculators who take up the challenge of trying to explain Tzara'at in regular medical terms. So Rabbi Hertz, in his Chumash about a century ago, looked to explain Tzara'at in accordance with the scholarship of his time as some kind of elephantiasis, and the treatment as trying to prevent contagion. Similarly, Rabbi Moshe Shammai, in his book Recording the Covenant, Rabbi Shlomo Bar-Aron, they all try to show how Tzara'at of the houses, of clothes, of the skin, can be identified as some kind of natural medical leprosy. Albeit, divine providence could have brought it about to punish people for their sins, but essentially it's seen as a medical infliction with a more natural treatment. Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, in his commentary to the parasha, takes great exception to this. He doesn't want to reinterpret the Torah as some kind of health rules and seeing the Kohanim as some class of priestly physicians who are supposed to treat it. The approach of Rav Hirsch to interpreting the Torah is more to try and take it all, first of all, at face value, and second of all, he sees it in terms of the greater messages of the prophets as being some kind of moral code. Therefore, he'll look for kind of moral symbolism and teaching within any set of laws. So Rav Hirsch comes out very strongly against these theories that see Tzara'at as a natural leprosy. And he brings a number of arguments against this. For example, the pasuk states that if Tzara'at spreads to cover the entire body, just where you would assume Tzara'at is at its most contagious, the person is pure. Furthermore, where the house which has been inflicted by Tzara'at is about to be inspected by Kohanim, the pasuk tells us we'll take everything out of the house so that it won't become tameh, because it only becomes tameh once the Kohen declares it to be so. Well, if it's there, if these rules are intended to prevent contagion, why would you be bringing things out of the house? Furthermore, in the oral tradition, we find other exceptions. For example, Tzara'at would not be declared, would not be checked by a Kohen during the festive times when people are Olel Regel, or for a Chassan Kala, a bride and groom in their week of celebration. All these are times when people are congregating together. So if the idea was to prevent contagion, this is the worst time for the priest to stay away. This is the time where you should be checking the Tzara'at and getting these people into isolation as quickly as possible. Therefore, Rav Hirsch tries to interpret it consistently with his symbolic moral approach. What is the purpose of Tzara'at? Well, drawing up again upon the oral tradition and examples we have, such as Miriam being inflicted, Tzara'at comes as a providential punishment for social sins, such as slander and gossip. And the purpose of it is the person is isolated from their social circle for a week, and they're supposed to think about where they might have gone wrong, where they can improve. However, there are some types of people who have lost their moral compass, and no amount of circumspection, introspection is going to lead them to find their faults. For these people, they're declared pure. They are white, they have a white affliction all over their body, their tzara'at is spread everywhere, yet they're pure because no amount of introspection is going to lead them to find their faults. They need a wake-up call. And this wake-up call is the tzara'at is spread all over the body, telling them, it doesn't matter. Don't sit aside. Don't seclude yourself. You're not going to find your fault. You need a radical reset. And this is the sort of moral message of Tzara'at, the way that Rav Hirsch interprets it, as opposed to the more naturalistic approaches which we find among other thinkers.